where? Out to the universe, back to Nova Prime, in order for the signal to go out so that the correct people can pick that signal up and help and assist so that we can grow again, so we can get back on our path. That's why he sent his son out. So he did that in the essence of Hollywood. Like, listen, son, we don't got nothing up here in Hollywood. We ain't doing nothing. I'm sending you out here in this wilderness. I need you to retrieve this beacon. You're gonna go out here. You're gonna get this beacon. You're gonna send this signal out so that it can go across the universe, so we can take this thing to the next level. So he did that, but he did it symbolically in the movie. So that's why all the critics tried to chop it down from the beginning, because they understand. When they go to the films, they know what to look for. And the only reason that they could chew this film up the way that they did was because they understood the depth that Will Smith and the length he was going to try and subconsciously sway and shift this consciousness, in Hollywood. Now, when he was sitting down, he broke his leg, and when he looked through his leg, he saw that he had broken a major artery. So he needed something called an arterial shunt. That's what the computer was telling him, shunt required. Now, why were they focusing so much on this? He could have just bandaged the leg up. He could have did a bunch of stuff, but they made sure they focused on this. What is a shunt? All right, so let's look at some etymology. Early 13th century, perhaps from shun-in or to shun, adopted by railways from 1842, okay? Shunting in rail talk is when you switch tracks. When you switch tracks because there's a path that is obstructed and you're able to go around it. It also means to hide or to desist, all right? So he's telling everybody symbolically, look, we have to try another way. We have to go around another path because this path ain't working. This path is broken. So an arterial shunt is needed. Let's switch over. Let's switch paths so we can find a better and more productive, more effective way to get this message out, to get this thing across. In electronics, a shunt is a device which allows electric current to pass around another point in the circuit by creating a low resistance path, a path of least resistance. The term is also widely used in photovoltaics, which is solar cells. And if anybody listened to my Series B, melanin is the new photovoltaic cell. They're moving from silicon into melanin.
Classic.
The term is also widely used in photovoltaics to describe an unwanted short circuit between the front and back surface contacts of a solar cell, usually caused by wafer damage. The origin of the term is in the verb to shunt, meaning to turn away or follow a different path. All right, so let's get cracking. That was just a little introduction. All right, so this is pretty much what Cypher Rage is talking about. Cypher Rage is Will Smith's character. Cypher, everybody knows what a cipher is. It means a circle. It's completion. Katai, which is the sun, means hope or adoration. Shinshi, which is the daughter's name, is warrior, young warrior. So these are the names of his children and his name, and then his wife's name is Fire. So you got Fire, you got adoration, you got completion, and you got warrior. This is by no mistake. And then his last name is Rage. All right. Now, this is what he says in the beginning of the movie to get everybody an idea of what's going on. Our time on Earth for millennia was a consistent, slow, technological evolution, but an extraordinary event changed our course. We used the alien technology to make astronomical leaps, but our unnatural acceleration was too much, causing us to destroy natural resources, ravaging our planet for our own consumption. Mother Earth fought back. In 1971, which is 6 years prior to the movie Oblivion, forced us to leave home. We found refuge on a new planet we never thought we'd be back. All right. So where did everybody on Earth go? They ended up finding a planet called Nova Prime. Okay, what does Nova mean? Nova deals with stars, supernova, right? What is Prime? Prime is the first, okay? So they're talking about the first star. What's the first star? We're talking about Sirius B. How do I know that? Because when you get to Nova Prime has the straight red rock, clay rock, and the people are living on cliffs. And if you look at the movie, the buildings that they have the long rods sticking out of them. They all living on cliffs that are like terraformed, and that is almost identical to the Dogon. I mean, the Dogon is more of a tribal look, with it, because they ain't putting the money into creating the particular structures. But if you put a Dogon city right next to Nova Prime, you could definitely see where the influence of the city come from. So then, in Nova Prime, the reason why a war ended up starting was because there was a particular species, an intelligent being, race of intelligent beings that arrived that started firing on the humans on the planet, because they was like, yo, this is holy ground. Like, what are y'all doing here, straight settling and putting all your stuff here? Y'all ain't supposed to be on this holy ground. So they started battling. And the intelligent life forms that they were fighting had to roll out a few times because they won, and they had to go back to the drawing board, but they finally ended up figuring something out. They created an entity in order to dispose of the humans. Now, the name of the intelligent beings of this race is called the Skrull. And I found that real interesting because, to go back to the Dogon, because all their ships look like giant fish. They had fins, they had dorsal fins, they had little lights at the top that looked like eyes. They had the fins on the back, so anybody who is following me, they know that the Dogon, the deities that they praise and they honor are called the Nomos, and these particular ships that they are using to fly around in are look just like fish. Then the ship that Cypher Rays that Will Smith is flying in looks like Stingray. So you got all this fish energy. Then they talking about whales and dolphins through the whole movie. So you got all this Dogon energy. It's just getting reminded over and over again that they're referring to this energy of Sirius being the Dogon. But let's push forward. Now, thinking about the Skrull, I was like, who's the Skrull? Why did he choose that name? Because, Will wrote this. Well, in the research comes to find out that the Skrull comes from Krell. And anybody who's a movie buff would know of a movie called Forbidden Planet, which is one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made because of it being the first to do a lot of things. One of the first things it did was it was the first movie where humans created their own ship to go out of space. It was also the first movie where the film was shot on an alien planet. You know what I'm saying? Amongst other things. But in this movie there was an intelligent race of beings called the Krell, and I'm going to go into detail in that. Ethically as well as technologically, they were 1 million years ahead of humankind. For in unlocking the mysteries of nature, they had conquered even their baser selves. And when in the course of eons they had abolished sickness and insanity and crime and all injustice, they turned, still with high benevolence, outward towards space. Long before the dawn of man's history, they had walked our earth and brought back many biological specimens, the heights they had reached. But then, seemingly on the threshold of some supreme accomplishment, which was to have crowned their entire history, this all but divine race perished in a single night. Sounds like the Olmecs to me. In the 2000 centuries since that unexplained catastrophe, even their cloud-piercing towers of glass and porcelain and adamantine steel have crumbled back into the soil of Altair 4, which is the name of the planet. And nothing, absolutely nothing, remains above ground. So they just went into the description of Oblivion again with the buildings that they were dealing with. Plus they talking about adamantium, which I thought Marvel came up with, but this was before Marvel. And then the name of the planet was Altair, but it was Altair 4. And the 44s is going to be all up in here. We got to touch on that. So the movie was pretty much about a crew on Earth who got a distress signal from a bunch of people that left and went to look at this planet some time ago, and there was a problem. The Dr. Morbius, like Morpheus, but Dr. Morbius told them don't come. Like it's a waste of time for y'all coming to try and help us save anything. We just letting y'all know it's a wrap. But they decided to go anyway. So they go out there and they end up meeting up with Dr. Morbius, and Dr. Morbius is filling them in. All right, so Morbius shows the starship captain the principal remains of the Krell civilization, a self-preparing and still functioning gigantic machine which reposes blinking and humming beneath an empty desert of Altair 4. It is a cube measuring 20 miles on the side, powered by 9,200 working thermonuclear reactors. Its function is a mystery, but later it was finally revealed. The huge device was built by the Krell as a replacement for all technological instrumentalities. It is a technical Aladdin's lamp, an ultimate machine waiting for a command. The starship captain finally figures this out with the clues from the brain-boosted ship's doctor and, of course, Dr. Morbius. So this is the cube. So to go back to the Avengers and to go back to Transformers, we're talking about the cosmic cube again, except this joint is 20 miles long, 9,200 nuclear reactors in there. And what it does is it ends up, whatever you could think, it ends up creating. Okay, so Morbius says this: a big machine, 8,000 cubic miles of klystron relays, enough power for a whole population of creative geniuses, operated by remote control, operated by the electromagnetic impulses of individual Krell brains. In return, the machine would instantaneously project solid matter to any point on the planet in any shape or color they might imagine, for any purpose, creation by pure thought. So this machine took whatever thought that came in your mind and turned that thing into a solidified, tangible reality instantaneously. Microwavable manifestation, all right? But like you, the Krell forgot one deadly danger, their own subconscious hate and lust for destruction. And so those mindless beasts of the subconscious had access to a machine that could never be shut down. The secret devil of every soul on the planet, all set free at once to loot and maim. So what's being said here is these folks, these Krell, created this machine that could, manifest any thought. But what ended up happening is some people didn't have some pure thoughts. Some people had some low vibrational thoughts. And with low vibrational thoughts and with parasites and with infestation and cancers, you're going to end up creating monsters. You're going to end up creating beasts. You're going to create the personification of what you fear. The creature is an extension of his own mind, his evil self. He is fatally injured trying to stop the monster, which then immediately disappears. Morbius directs Adam to activate a floor switch and warns them that they must get 100 million miles away from the planet in 24 hours. So they find out that, there's a monster in the movie, and the monster got created by the Dr. Morbius because he's been there long enough, and the joint is invisible. You can't even see it. However, based upon your fear, it's able to find you. And I found that very interesting because the beast in the movie followed the same type of pattern, where the only way that this monster can find you or kill you or hurt you is if you were scared, because then you produce these pheromones that this beast can smell or feel, and then he's able to pursue you and kill you, and there's nothing that could stop him. And that's why Will ended up getting into that talk about overcoming the fear, all right? Now, to go a little further into the Krell, did you know that there's a Krell Institute, all right? Since its inception in 1997, the Krell Institute Corporation has provided technical resources, knowledge, and experience in managing technology-based education and information programs, including 2 of the most successful fellowships offered by a U.S. science agency. Krell is named after the advanced civilization that once inhabited the planet Altair 4 in the classic 1956 science fiction movie Forbidden Planet. So, there's an institute that exists as I'm speaking that is called the Krell Institute, that they named themselves after this movie, where they are the leaders in the U.S. and across the globe in science, technology, education. And to be more specifically, it's called STEM Fields, which is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And to give you an example, there's a doctor named Dr. Versip who's doing postdoctoral research at MIT. She researches pharmaceutical and biological problems with tools from chemical engineering, computational science, and mathematics. She also actively engages in science, technology, and engineering.